I'm obsessed with when we draw lines in the sand as people. When we draw a line in the sand and say we're not gonna do things. When we say things like, well, why the heck am I gonna check in everywhere I go? Well, because when you check in a bar and they give you a free fucking beer, you're gonna check in. That's why. I think we're very quick at making assumptions of things we're not gonna do. We love drawing those lines in the sand. And I'm obsessed with recognizing the ones that we are gonna do, because that's where the opportunity lies. Here's what I know, and I know it cold, and I believe it completely. No matter what you guys think you are right now, and no matter what you think you do for a living, every person in this room is gonna be in a couple of industries, but one for sure. And it's coming fast, and it's coming soon. And that's called customer service. Every person in this room, no matter what you do, you're gonna be in the customer service business. And that's what I'm obsessed with. I'm totally obsessed with where this whole thing is going. Because what I know now is this. 2 years ago when I was here at South by and had 3,000 people following me on Twitter, people were shitting their pants. They're like, it's unbelievable, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Now, lots of people have lots of communities, whether it's 100, 1,000,000, it really doesn't matter the number. People listen to you. And that is insane. And first of all, please recognize how special that is. The fact that anybody cares about what you have to say is a huge deal. I promise you, when I walked in earlier, I'm like, that's a big room, I hope it fills. But more importantly, I said to myself, if one person shows up, I'm gonna be pumped, because that's one more person than zero. And people need to start taking that mentality. Because everybody has an audience now, the game is changing dramatically. Because the fact of the matter is this, everybody has a voice. My brother and mom went to a Mexican restaurant in New York a couple weeks ago, and they called ahead of time, and AJ said, hey, can I get a table in 5 minutes if I'm there in 5 minutes? And they said, sure, get here in 5 minutes. They got there in 3 minutes. And they got there and she's like, oh, it's gonna take another 40 minutes. And AJ's like, what the hell? So he whipped out his cell phone to text me he was gonna be late, and the hostess crapped her pants, told him to stop, ran back, and next thing he knew, they were seated. Why? I'll tell you why. Because of things like Yelp and things like Twitter. They didn't want anybody to say anything negative about their brand. So, little fun fact, if you leave with anything in Austin, you don't get good service, whip out your phone with purpose. Oh, it's gonna be 10 minutes? People get scared. We're all in the customer service business. You know, there's been some talks here at South by, and I've been hearing some things about, you know, people are obsessed with scalability, right? You start brainstorming stuff, and it's like, how does that scale? How does this scale? Blah, 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 all that stuff. And I think that's a massively fascinating thing. And I think it's very important if you want to build a big business. I get it, scale's important. I will not disrespect scale. That would be a huge mistake. However, I'm really curious to why effort is not being talked about more. A lot of people always bust my chops. You know, they roll up after a talk or when they see me and they're like, yeah, but Gary, answering all those emails and all that interaction you do, how are you gonna scale that? And I'm always like, I'm gonna try. You know, I think that people are massively underestimating caring. I really do. I really, really do. I don't give a shit if you build the greatest app of all time and you have great PR, your product is going to have a problem eventually if you don't give a fuck. And way too many people are obsessed with so many things, and what's really gotten scary to me is I thought it was just startup entrepreneurs in this industry, but now that we're consulting with a lot of companies, the fact of the matter is, real dead and simple, let's not bullshit it anymore, companies don't give a fuck. They just don't. They don't care about users enough, they just don't. Which is why when somebody like Zappos gives even a solid fuck, we go crazy. And so, I think that caring is massively underrated. I walked into a client and said, all right, here's what we're gonna do. They're like, you know, everybody's so silly. Like, how are we gonna get more Twitter followers? I'm like, well, can I ask you a bigger question? Why do you want Twitter followers? You know, the problem is they want Twitter followers for one reason. Like 99% of the people that play Twitter, they wanna fucking spam them. They wanna hit them up with offers. How many people in this room remember surmise.com? That's why it's fun to go to South by, there's actual hands. Surmise.com is how I built my list. It's how I built my community. When that came out, I lived on it. I typed in Chardonnay, Merlot, Cabernet. People had questions, and I answered them. That's how I won. And I didn't answer them with, oh, funny you should bring up Zinfandel. I just did a show on that. Link. No, I just answered it. Here's the problem, and it's the biggest problem that I see with every business, every startup, every product. Everybody is trying to be a 19-year-old dude. And what I mean by that, thank you for getting it, and what I mean by that is everybody's just trying to close too fast. Give it a little time. It's so amazing what the soft sell can do. I'm completely obsessed with the fact that no matter how difficult it is or how tough it might have been, we all love our parents at some level. For me, it's insanely high. Others is different, I get that. But the fact of the matter is, the reason we love our parents is they loved us first. And I really need companies and brands to start paying attention to that. Because all they care about is converting the ROI and the bottom line and the stock price and moving a couple extra cases of wine or razors, and nobody gives a shit. And that's why they're losing, because we're living in a word-of-mouth world where all of us can activate, and we have unbelievable, not solid, we have ridiculously awesome bullshit detectors. We know. And the fact of the matter is this: people need to start caring or they're gonna fucking lose. Thank you. I'll see you next year.